Hi, this is Martin, and what I'd like to do today is something a little bit special, combining two previous episodes that I've done on two saints that are going to be canonized this coming Sunday, September 7th, 2025. The first one is Carlo Acutis, which I did back in February of 2024. And the second one is Pier Giorgio Frassati, which I did in January of 2025. I hope you'll find them interesting. They're both incredible in that they're young, blessed right now, but they will be saints very shortly. But they're wonderful for all people, really. The first one, which is going to be Carlo Acutis, and then the second one would be on Pier Giorgio Frassati. I really wasn't aware of the extent of Eucharistic miracles until early in 2023. A couple came to our local church hall with a panel presentation on an exhibition that was developed by a young Italian teenager by the name of Carlo Acutis. He basically was just an ordinary young guy, teenager, and was known as a bit of a computer genius in his lifetime. But Carlo Acutis came in the 90s and died in, I think it was 2004 or 5. I think when he received his first Holy Communion, though, it had a tremendous impact on him, bringing him closer to God. He would take time either before Mass or after Mass and just be close to the tabernacle. He spent 4 years creating a website cataloging every reported Eucharistic miracle around the world. With that as a background, if you're willing, let us go on a journey and describe some of the miracles at different locations in the world. Starting with Lanciano, Italy. Somewhat have a strong feeling about that because I was actually able to be there in the year 2022. This miracle occurred in 750 AD. It's hard to believe, but almost 1,500 years ago. And it happened at a church of St. Francis. A priest who was celebrating Mass had concerns about the presence of our Lord in the consecrated host. One day, when he was saying Mass at the consecration itself, he saw that the host turned into flesh and the wine into blood. All those in attendance actually saw the transformation. To this day, the flesh and blood are visible in a monstrance that is a container for the host in the town of Lanciano. Many, many, many years later, in 1970, the Archbishop of Lanciano requested a doctor who was a director of a hospital at Arezzo, Italy, and a professor in many categories, a professor of anatomy, chemistry, and microscopy, to perform a scientific analysis of the host. His findings were this: the flesh in the host was real flesh from the middle of the heart of a human being. The blood is truly human blood with an AB blood type. His report developed intense interest from the World Health Organization, and the WHO appointed a scientific commission to corroborate the doctor's findings. The final reports indicated that, in this particular case, science has its limits, and they ultimately had no explanation for the occurrence. I believe at a later date, Dr. Lanoli was brought in to examine another Eucharistic miracle. Pier Giorgio lived from 1901 to 1925, just a short life. Very, very unusual guy, but a little bit about his interests and activities. So Pier Giorgio once wrote that we should never just exist, but actually live. Although his life was short, it was packed full of interests and activities, from the mundane to the sublime. He was at home with the homeless on the streets, as well as members of the highest classes in the embassy ballroom. He had a rich sense of humor and a limitless love for God, his church, his country, and his fellow man. Pier Giorgio developed a deep spiritual life which he never hesitated to share with his friends. The Holy Eucharist and the Blessed Virgin were the two main poles of his world of prayer. At the age of 17, he joined the St. Vincent de Paul Society and dedicated much of his spare time to serving the sick and the needy, caring for orphans, and assisting the demobilized servicemen returning from World War I. The poor and the suffering. He often sacrificed vacations because, as he said, if everybody leaves Turin, who will take care of the poor? His father oftentimes gave him first-class fare money when he was traveling on trains, but Pier Giorgio went instead third class. His friends would ask him, why are you going third class? He said, because there's no fourth class. At his funeral, it was basically an incredible triumph. The streets of the city of Turin were lined with thousands of mourners who were unknown to his family, the poor and the needy whom he had unselfishly served for many, many years. A priest who knew him said he was infused with a constant joy that was sometimes explosive, and he surpassed just about everyone with his bottomless bag of many pranks. Thank you very much for taking the time to listening to these episodes. I think it's appropriate being that their special day is coming up this week, September 7th. So if you have the time, maybe go back to the full episodes, which can be found in the log. Thank you and farewell until the next time.